The headlines. The days of all Bajan companies is over, business official says. Canada updates crime advice in Barbados. And West Indies gear up for the one-day leg of their Sri Lankan tour. Welcome to Nation News for Wednesday, October the 28th, 2015. Thanks for joining us. With some Barbadians expressing alarm that the ownership of banks' holdings may be headed outside of the Caribbean, the head of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry is setting out the new business facts of life. Tracy Suffler says Bajans need to realize that the era of shareholding in local companies being fully Barbadian is quickly passing. International beer giant Ambev and Trinidad and Tobago's Anson McCall have made separate bids for banks' holdings, which includes the brewery and Pine Hill Dairy. Ms. Shuffler made her comments during a luncheon seminar.
The era of shareholdings being fully Barbadian is passing quickly as the necessity for expansion into higher growth markets and rigorous brand development become normative. Both export development, brand building, and capacity expansion require significant additional investment for most companies, and I believe that as Caribbean people, we need to come to a realization that any combination of regional ownership is still considered indigenous. Police say they have discovered more than 1,100 marijuana plants growing in cane fields in several areas of St. George during the morning. A release from the force said the plants were seized by officers of the Drug Squad and Police Tactical Response Unit at Stepney, Buckley, Constant, Jordans, and Applewitz. No arrests were made. The Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency has been launched at its home in Barbados. Prime Minister Frandl Stewart said it will help to reduce the region's dependence on fossil fuels and increase resilience to climate change. He said the body will also be the regional hub and think tank for sustainable energy issues. Mr. Stewart said this is critical since the importation costs of fossil fuels pose a major challenge to most Caribbean economies.
Caribbean countries import 90% of our energy, which, because of our reliance on oil and the volatility in the international oil market, limits our competitiveness as a region and acts as a brake on economic growth. For Barbados, this equates to over $700 million per annum.
Canada has updated its travel advice for Barbados to warn of the risk of being robbed while driving on our roads, according to Canadian media. It has joined the United States Embassy and the British High Commission, which issued alerts regarding criminal activity, though both concern the Pine East-West Boulevard and Pine East-South Boulevard, where there is road construction. Police later warned that criminals were attempting to steal valuables from cars at traffic lights or in slow or stationary traffic in the area. Canadian media say the country's Foreign Affairs Department has told citizens that while in Barbados, car doors should be kept locked, windows rolled up, and possessions such as handbags safely stored at traffic lights where there could be a target for thieves. It wasn't immediately clear whether this was related to the Pine areas or the whole of Barbados, though it seems good advice anyway. The British government this week urged drivers in the Pine East-West area not to place personal belongings and valuables where they can be easily reached, and consider putting everything in the trunk of the car or on the floor of the back seat. The Ministry of Health is reporting an increase in flu-like illnesses. The ministry said respiratory samples collected from patients and sent to the Caribbean Public Health Agency for testing have been positive for the influenza A virus. Symptoms include fever, chills, headache, body ache, and loss of appetite. Those who are ill have been advised to limit contact with others as much as possible, while individuals with fever should avoid leaving their homes until the fever has subsided. The elderly, pregnant women, and those with chronic conditions should consult their doctors for advice. UWI may be churning out many doctors, but some specialist medical areas remain short of numbers. Newly retired Dean of the Medical Faculty at Cave Hill, Professor Joseph Brandy, has told Nation News that Barbados lacks neurosurgeons, neurologists, plastic surgeons, and cardiothoracic surgeons, those dealing with the heart and chest or lungs. Amid concerns that the country was producing too many doctors, Professor Brandy also said there were opportunities for medical professionals in the wider Caribbean. Guyana's Foreign Minister Carl Greenidge will visit Barbados this week to participate in a session of the Barbados-Guyana Joint Commission. During his 3-day stay, which begins on Thursday, Mr. Greenidge will meet Prime Minister Frandl Stewart and other government ministers. Children of lower socio-economic standing will benefit significantly from government's thrust to create greater access to early childhood education. Senator Harry Husbands, the parliamentary secretary in the Education Ministry, made this assertion in the Senate as he led off discussion on a resolution to compulsorily acquire land at Durant's Village, St. James, to construct a roadway giving access to a proposed nursery school. Mr. Husbands said Barbados is yet to provide early childhood education for all. But he said the proposed nursery school in St. James, along with 5 others planned for construction, will be a significant step in moving towards this goal. Healthy eating is not just for the sick or chronically ill, says President of the Diabetes Association, Noreen Medic. She is anxious to get across the message that to look after your diet is not for diabetics alone, although it takes on added importance for them. Association officials spoke at a news conference at which First Vice President Tyrone Lowe shared some of the activities planned for later this year.
We've got the annual fund walk coming up on Sunday, November 8th. There's a 5K walk. We're going to be walking from Massey Car Park, and we are happy to have Massey as our title sponsor this year for this event. Generally, we have a 5K walk and a 5K run, but this year we're going to introduce a new aspect of it called the 15K Blue Circle Iron Challenge. We believe that we can challenge ourselves beyond the normal limits of activities. Some people believe that once you are a person suffering with diabetes, you can't do anything much. You just are fatalistic when you're around to die sometime soon. We want to challenge that mentality to let people know that physical activity can be enjoyed by persons as well living with diabetes.
Sport now having emphatically lost the Test series in Sri Lanka, the West Indies are now turning their attention to the limited overs leg of their tour. The reinforcements have flown in, among them fast bowler Ravi Rampal, who says he's ready to make a big impact on his comeback to the team for the 3-match one-day international series and the 2-match T20 series. Rampal spoke to the media following a training session.
It's been a while since I played for West Indies, and I'm happy to be back. Hopefully I could put together some good performances and really cement my place on the team for a couple of years.
Okay, and you are expected to use the new ball, and you had a lot of experience doing that all your career. What do you think you bring to the team for this ODI series coming up?
More so experience with the new ball and coming down in the debt. Hopefully pick up early wickets and give the team a good start with the new ball and then coming and finishing off with the end. So more so my experience will play a big part.
After an absence of 27 years, motorsport will make a return to Patagon on Sunday when the Barbados Association of Dragsters and Drifters holds an acceleration test. Testing will start at 10 o'clock along the quarter-mile strip at the Barbados Defence Force Base in Christchurch. And finally, an Australian speech expert says the country's accent can be attributed in part to the drunkenness of early European settlers. Dean Frenkel, a lecturer in public speaking and communications at Victoria University in Melbourne, said the Australian accent was born of speech patterns from English, Irish, and German settlers, mixing with those of Aboriginal descent. But there was another influence in the accent's development: heavy drinking. In a newspaper article he wrote, "Our forefathers regularly got drunk together and through their frequent interactions unknowingly added an alcoholic slur to our national speech patterns." The origins of Australia's accent notwithstanding, it has proven popular internationally. A survey of 11,000 people in 24 cities around the world earlier this year dubbed the Australian accent to be the fourth most attractive in the world, behind British, American, and Irish. I guess they haven't heard the Bajan accent. And that's Nation News for Wednesday. For more news, log on to nationnews.com, as well as YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And remember to pick up your Daily Nation on Thursday or subscribe to our e-paper.